Welcome to the
Hi,
show again.
thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Are we seeing your product release today?
Yeah, yes, you are. And we happen to time our product releases to this great summit always because we feel like the audience is so great and learn so well. So yes, here's another exclusive peek into our product. But let me start with giving a bit of background into myself. So again, name's Tuba. I'm the CEO and founder of Amoeba. I think one of the things that is really unique about Amoeba, we're building a brain for your go-to-market business. So think about anything related to your data that's related to go-to-market. We essentially provide you the intelligence layer that extracts the right outputs for you. But we're a little bit different in the sense we're not an LLM-based platform. So if you think about large language models or transformers, the thing that they're really good at are things like predicting the next word. So a lot of like content-based use cases. But the things that they're sometimes really bad at are the reliability of output and like we talked about that earlier in the panel, like deterministic outputs, etc. So we've developed a neuro-symbolic AI system. And essentially it's like adding a reasoning layer on top of your large language model without you actually having to do it. So it's learning from your data, it's creating that reasoning on top of your data. So for you as a business owner, it's a very turnkey solution. Um, as Julia knows, I've transitioned from talking about these things as like neural nets, because it's a very geeky product, into what more how the product works practically. So I'm going to dive into the product really quickly. And follow along with me here. One of the things that I want everyone to think about is how you consume data, right? That is at the center of everything. How you consume data dictates sort of how you end up running your business or what you extract out of consuming your data. So the way we've designed this platform, it's equal parts to emulate you having a data scientist or data analyst on your team, but it mostly transitions into what we would call as an observability layer for your business, which means like at some point you can walk off like hands off and like let the system run itself, and the system's responsible for telling you what's important and recommending what you should do against it. So if we talk about kind of, again, back to how we consume data, one of the biggest ways we consume data is, business data is you look at spreadsheets right now, or you look at reports. And our answer to that is obviously spreadsheets and reports are really good for structured data. And sometimes you still have a hard time extracting insights, but they're not great for unstructured data, which are things like your Zoom recordings, which are things like your content, etc. So Amoeba has this concept called explorations where you can come in and essentially look at, for the sake of time, I'm actually not going to ask the question because big data products obviously have like a latency issue. So I'll walk you through some responses, but you can imagine this is like your deep researcher in essence that can go in and look at you. So I've created one here for high value MQLs. And what I did was essentially first give you insight into how it's doing it behind the scenes, but then went in, looked at everything that was relevant and interesting related to that query that I had asked, gave you a summary of like what you should change, what you would change, but it's the equivalent of if I was to tap my analyst and say, hey, can you analyze this for me? Right? So that's one way you consume data. Now, another way we consume data is my favorite, which is dashboards. And, we all are responsible have been responsible for setting up dashboards, maintaining dashboards, or taking our dashboards into our executive meetings, etc. One of the things that's unique about Amoeba's agents is we ask you essentially what is a goal that you're trying to achieve. And your goal could be you want your pipeline to grow by 20%, you want your business to grow by 30%. So think at the level that's that macro. And we have something interesting, which is UX on the fly. So essentially based on what your goal is what you see represented on your screen. So if your goal is like a growth-based goal, essentially you'll see different things or different compositions of things. But if your goal is like a maintenance goal, you'll see different compositions of things. And that's because our agents are smart enough to pick what are the right pieces to show you instead of showing you the same footprint for every single goal that you set, which is one of the problems with dashboards. So, and the other thing we do is like once you set a goal, your neural net is on and observing continuously, right? So again, you set a goal and you back off. So if I look at what's in the composition of a goal, you see a couple of different things. One, you see obviously how you're progressing against the goal. Now, again, these summaries are generated, the data is generated via the neuro-symbolic system, and then we use LLM to synthesize, right? So these summaries in part are meant to tell you, hey, these things are changing day over day, week over week. So it doesn't look the same every time you come back to the platform. But then the first thing we do is reveal to you, like, what are the insights based on the data that you've connected to this related to your goal. And these are ranked in order of like preference or priority based on what's most relevant to that goal. And they're multivariate in nature. So sometimes might include a single variable. Sometimes they might include multiple variables. A great example of that is one of our customers had a particular blog that converted really, really well with a single color of a CTA. So again, it's as expansive and as inclusive of any and all data that you can connect to it. And as you can see with this little squiggly line here, that if the footprint changes, meaning if the relationship of this variable to the data changes, it moves up and down. So if I'm a marketer and I'm coming in here and either my team or my C-suite execs are asking me, what's working, which is like the first question we get asked all the time, you no longer have to go digging across your entire data warehouse. You can just show them against this goal, these are the activities that are actually working. This is a new way of looking at what was traditionally called attribution. Now, we don't just stop there. Essentially, the next thing we do is obviously give you recommendations. And we're very precise about our recommendations because sometimes you get recommendations and it gets overwhelming because there are a bajillion recommendations to take. So for us, our concept of recommendation is based on all the insights shared in order for you to achieve this goal, what are some things you can do based on the systems that are connected? And now again, these systems could be, like Lisa was showing, metadata as an example. These systems could be outbounding systems. These systems could be more human-centric systems as well. So any and all systems that are connected. And we not only give you high-level recommendations, but when you click on them, we basically give you multiple ways in which you can go ahead and actually try this out and implement it. And the reason we do that is because we value human participation where intuition and strategy is concerned. So this tool is giving you everything at your disposal to be able to take and apply a strategy without, doing it for you autonomously. So again, you are human in the loop. So you're picking the simulation or the scenario that you feel like might work best to you. And then say you pick a scenario that works best for you, you can obviously go ahead and generate tasks, which is basically a project plan in order for you to implement it. Now, behind the scenes for us at Amoeba, because we use our own product, we automated this so it not just generates tasks, but it actually like goes into those systems and starts orchestrating. So that's always an option. But as you remember from dashboards, it's basically bridging the gap from like how you're used to consuming static dashboards into a more living thing that you're consuming. And then last but not least, I would say the way execs basically take in information or consume data is in the form of long form analysis. So as an example, you're going into a board meeting or you're going into like your QBRs or any kind of business review, etc. And you want to understand like for this quarter, like what actually happened. And these are longer, these are denser. These are meant to give you a more strategic output on like what happened and what you should change. So there's a bit of a historical outlook. So you can go ahead and kind of create that here. And to give you an example, this is a quarterly pipeline intelligence report, essentially. So obviously there's a bit of a summary. First and foremost, it gives you a causal analysis, so telling you why something is happening, not just it's happening. And as you can see, if I'm scrolling through it, it gets very dense and deep. So maybe not all these pieces are relevant for all the stakeholders within your organization, but obviously some of this is relevant for a quick summary is like relevant for your executive team, a quick summary is like relevant for your board. Now, I talked through a bunch of different products, and one of the reasons why we're dialing in on how you consume data is we want everyone in the company to have a unified data language, essentially. That was one of the problems with go-to-market data is that everyone interprets data differently, right? So we've designed this thing called our monitoring feature as well, where you can go ahead and say that this topic, this goal, or this exploration is interesting to me. And once you turn monitoring on, then it is the responsibility of the system to, within your systems of action and systems of record, to alert you when something is going wrong, not happening, any kind of anomalies, any kind of trends and spikes. The reason the topic thing is really interesting, because if you imagine a neural net, which is a node with a bunch of nodes around it, you can basically assign the same tag or the same topic across all these different features. So say I'm tagging this as channel performance, then I might have a channel performance here, an exploration, a goal, and then I might have a report that's also channel performance limited. So if I now turn on notifications or alerts for that, then that system is now monitoring not just the things that you were interested in like pulling the thread on, but the goal that you were trying to achieve related to it, and then the briefings that you were pulling. So every output from here on out, after you start monitoring it, even there's passive output, which is what we push to you, but active output, which is what you get from the system, is now adhering to what your business brain is. So it's like this entire thing is a business brain, and then you get to individually create like end user based business brains. I'll pause here. Obviously, we do all the things of connecting to a bunch of different kind of data, like any kind of structured or unstructured data. But I think the idea here is like over time, we're planning on changing your entire data interaction model and transitioning you from, having to ask your data questions and pull information out to letting the system then give you that information, and then eventually progressing into agent to agent orchestration as well, where you can just say, I approve this, and then it goes ahead and orchestrates that amongst many platforms.
It's phenomenal, Tuba. I am just biased, so I'm gonna leave my comments aside, that the admiration to your platform and thinking and the philosophy and even, the small details that it starts with a goal and not just a simple question. Love the way you're building it. We are seeing a couple of questions here, and people are asking, how does False integrate with existing data systems?
So we can integrate with any and every kind of data source. So we mostly integrate with data warehouses or any kind of like MarTech solutions right now, advertising platforms, CRMs, etc. And if there is a connector that we're not connected into, then we generally build like a custom connector. The advantage of where we are with AI, like MCPs and all of these tools are at our disposal to easily connect. But I think one of the other unique advantages is you can port in structured and unstructured. So for some of our customers, like bringing in some like Gong data as an example, alongside this data has been really helpful, or bringing in what's on your website alongside some of this like qualitative data and quantitative data has been really helpful.
And can you speak more about the algorithm or customization of insights for different teams?
Yeah, so we've designed this system to be, again, the brain of your business. So we anticipate, as an example, like a marketing team, if you divide a marketing team up, there are sub goals under a marketing team. And then we envision the sales team also has sub goals. So the idea behind kind of aligning to like a universal data language means the neural net is capable of segmenting and understanding these are marketing related goals, these are sales related goals. But the cool thing about a neural net or platform of this sort is sometimes you set a marketing goal and you might meet your marketing goal, but your sales team doesn't meet their goal. Over here, you set a goal at the level of how much do you want to grow your business, as an example, overall. So it's constantly checking each of those goals against each other to make sure you're not doing something that's at a detriment to another goal that your company or your business has. So the insights and recommendations will tailor to allow you to meet the lowest common denominator, the breadth of all the goals that you have in the system, instead of just optimizing for like a singular goal.
And people are asking, what data privacy protection do you offer?
Yeah, I come from a data science background. So we, we were small as a startup, but from the beginning, we started with obviously our SOC 2, GDPR compliance, our ISO compliance. And then on top of that, we have a couple of vendors that we work alongside, like Private AI as an example, where if you wanted to anonymize your data, because a lot of times customers will, before they sign on as a customer, will send us like a slice of their data to understand what kinds of outputs they could expect as a way to prove that this is valuable to them. So we employ other services to help us kind of anonymize the data. Now, you can also try this platform completely with synthetic data. So if you were in favor of kind of trying this, or you wanted to see like how this would perform in scenarios that are similar to like what you face in your business, reach out to us and we're happy to create those simulated environments for you as well.
It's amazing. And what's the best next step to should I just reach out to you on LinkedIn? How does it
Yeah,
work?
reach out to me on LinkedIn. And again, it doesn't have to be necessarily even about what we do at Amoeba. But if you want to know more about neuro-symbolic AI or you're curious to play around with agents, I'm always happy to geek out. And then as a special offer, obviously to the participants of this conference, we are offering a free analysis. I know a lot of board meetings are coming up. I know a lot of end-of-year reviews are coming up. So we're offering free analyses via Amoeba to you for a short period of time. So reach out to me and I'm happy to kind of facilitate that.
Fantastic session. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
And that wraps up day one of the Agentic Distribution Summit. Thank you for all the incredible insight speakers, panelists, demo leaders, and everybody's watching. And we'll be back tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Lots of exciting sessions tomorrow. Manny Medina, Mark Roberge, two CRO panels. So join us. And if you'd like to book a session, any one-on-one type of consultation, coaching, mentorship, that's all available with the majority of our speakers here. So you can just check our marketplace. And yeah, HeartSkill.exchange and see you tomorrow.